something about Meghan Markle's story has never fully added up, and now the people who once stayed silent are no longer holding back. Two men who spent years being mocked, attacked, and accused of obsession are suddenly being taken seriously for one terrifying reason: too many of their claims started matching reality. And the deeper they dug into Meghan's past, the darker the contradictions became. Not just royal drama, not just palace gossip, a pattern, a calculated reinvention so aggressive that even people inside media circles reportedly started whispering the same question behind closed doors: who is the real Meghan Markle? Because according to Tom Bauer and Piers Morgan, the woman presented to the public may be one of the most carefully manufactured personalities modern celebrity culture has ever produced. And once you start connecting the timelines, the deleted history, the disappearing relationships, the rewritten narratives, and the people allegedly left destroyed behind the scenes, the entire fairy tale begins collapsing in slow motion.
The royals supposed to have a do, so the constitution has been wound back and so on. Whining about sort of
mistake when it comes to PR, how they interact with the media, and how they present themselves to the public
didn't originally belong to her. After all, her speech shares tons of similarities with Roosevelt's 1950s.
Monitored the royals now very assiduously for quite some time. It does feel like a pivotal moment.
Ahas, just like with fashion, that fashion is not just clothes, it can be art. That's such a Tig moment.
Just meet the Queen. One day, they would be family.
It's a famous meeting now between Meghan and the Queen at Buckingham.
And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
Family about how dark her son Archie's skin color would be when he was born in May 2019.
Is Meghan Markle a plagiarist? That is what one author is accusing Meghan of being after she allegedly
loving and adoring, praise, fawning press for a...
It's amazing what ladies do when you're backstage.
Audition, which is streaming on Netflix.
It's so festive. Being a hostess or a host.
I think she's a slight social climber, I'm afraid. And when I see the way, look, at her wedding, there was only one member of her family there. The rest...
3 days before our wedding, we got married. No one knows that, but we called the Archbishop and we just said, look.
And I believe that Meghan and probably Harry too thought if they did things the way that
Fire and Vanity Fair reported former employees of Meghan sought therapy after they worked for her. She was such a bully.
I was looking at the books, and it doesn't seem to reference exactly the idea of a young girl meeting a
podcast. This is after Meghan's brilliant podcast was so tragically unceremoniously cancelled.
What makes this story feel so disturbing is not one accusation alone. It is how every detail seems to lead into another contradiction. Tom Bauer reportedly spent years tearing through court records, archived interviews, old casting histories, forgotten blog posts, and private timelines that most journalists never even bothered looking at. Meanwhile, Piers Morgan kept repeating the same warnings on television while the public laughed at him, called him bitter, and accused him of having a personal vendetta. But then something strange happened. One by one, several things he questioned suddenly stopped sounding crazy. And now people are revisiting the very beginning. Before the palace, before Harry, before the royal wedding, before the speeches about compassion and equality. Back to an audition room in 2004 where a tiny lie allegedly revealed everything that would come later.
Beautiful color. It's so sweet of you. Hey, Darwin! Come in, come in. You should...
At first, it looked harmless, a struggling actress trying to survive Hollywood. But according to reports, when Meghan was asked whether she had a SAG union card, the answer she gave allegedly wasn't true. Production later had to legally fix the problem after she landed the role anyway, and insiders reportedly described the incident as a completely unnecessary deception that damaged trust immediately. Tiny moment, small room. But Piers Morgan later described it as the blueprint for everything that followed: image first, truth second. And what makes it feel eerie now is how often that exact accusation would repeat throughout her life. The ambition, the reinvention, the obsession with controlling perception. It allegedly started long before Buckingham Palace ever entered the picture.
It's a chain of chicken rotisserie restaurants called Flock.
One big question, was Meghan dating Corey at the
Then came the relationship almost nobody talks about anymore, celebrity chef Corey Vidiello. The silence surrounding him now is almost suspicious by itself. According to people around them, this was not some casual romance. They reportedly lived together, shared a serious life, built plans. Yet somehow, right as Prince Harry entered the picture, Corey disappeared from the narrative almost overnight. Publicly silent for years. No interviews, no retaliation, no angry headlines, nothing. And that silence has fueled speculation for nearly a decade because the timeline between the ending of one relationship and the beginning of another reportedly became uncomfortably tight. Piers Morgan repeatedly hinted that the transition may not have been as clean as publicly presented. And the more people revisit those dates, the more uncomfortable the overlap allegedly starts looking. Then there was the identity shift itself. The woman now known globally as Meghan Markle was legally born Rachel Meghan Markle. Friends reportedly called her Rachel for years. Early credits used Rachel. Even the character that made her famous on Suits was named Rachel. Yet suddenly the Rachel identity vanished almost entirely once larger ambitions appeared on the horizon. Tom Bauer reportedly viewed this not as coincidence but as intentional branding. Rachel allegedly sounded ordinary. Meghan sounded cinematic, royal, memorable, and according to critics, that may have been the beginning of a total reconstruction project where every detail became carefully selected to fit a future destination. But if changing a name raised eyebrows, what disappeared next raised even more questions. Her lifestyle blog, The Tig. For years, The Tig reportedly gave audiences a candid look into Meghan's ambitions, tastes, obsessions, and personal worldview. Fashion, luxury, relationships, aspirational living. Yet the moment Prince Harry became serious, the blog vanished almost instantly. Entire archives wiped away overnight. No slow transition, no sentimental goodbye, just gone. Web archives later recovered fragments, and according to multiple reports, those fragments allegedly painted a version of Meghan far more ambitious and fame-driven than the humanitarian image later presented publicly. Even more explosive were claims that some deleted posts reportedly revealed a deep fascination with royalty long before she publicly claimed to barely know Prince Harry at all. That contradiction alone sent royal watchers into a frenzy because suddenly the innocent blind date narrative started looking less accidental and more strategic. Then the Thomas Markle fallout turned into something far darker than ordinary family drama because this was not simply a father embarrassing his daughter publicly. According to reports, this was a man who had financially and emotionally supported Meghan for most of her life suddenly being erased almost completely from her royal narrative. Court documents, leaked letters, media statements, staged paparazzi scandals, and emotional interviews transformed the situation into one of the most painful public family collapses modern royal history had seen. Piers Morgan repeatedly said this specific relationship told him everything he needed to know because Thomas Markle allegedly went from being central to Meghan's life to being treated almost like he never existed. And what disturbed critics most was the claim that Meghan reportedly decided before the wedding itself that she did not want him walking her down the aisle, meaning the emotional separation may have already begun long before the press chaos exploded publicly. To many observers, that detail changed everything because it suggested the distancing was strategic rather than reactive. But even that controversy became overshadowed by the growing allegations surrounding Meghan's behavior behind closed doors. Publicly, she spoke constantly about kindness, empathy, compassion, female empowerment, and mental health awareness. Yet multiple reports allegedly described an entirely different atmosphere privately. Former employees reportedly described impossible expectations, emotional exhaustion, and toxic working conditions. The Hollywood Reporter allegedly published descriptions calling her a dictator in high heels. Vanity Fair later reported claims that staff members sought therapy after working inside her organization. Over a dozen employees reportedly left ArcuWell in only a few years, creating a turnover rate critics called deeply alarming for an organization built publicly around compassion. One story involving airline staff even became especially viral because an employee allegedly claimed Meghan's personality shifted dramatically depending on whether Prince Harry was physically nearby. Warm and charming when he was present, cold and detached once he left earshot. True or not, stories like these began feeding a larger narrative that the public version of Meghan and the private version allegedly looked like two entirely different human beings. Then, old footage from 2008 resurfaced and reopened another another uncomfortable debate. Before royalty, before humanitarian speeches, before the carefully polished Duchess image, Meghan reportedly appeared briefly in the pilot episode of 90210 in a role so minor she was credited simply as Hot Girl. The scene itself became less important than what it symbolized, because critics argued the footage clashed violently with the elegant humanitarian persona later presented globally. The contrast reportedly shocked royal traditionalists who believed the palace either ignored or underestimated parts of Meghan's Hollywood past before the wedding took place. Unverified reports even claimed palace officials allegedly became aware of some resurfacing footage beforehand, but decided not to intervene. Nobody publicly confirmed what those conversations looked like behind palace walls, but the rumors alone added another layer of mystery to the growing controversy surrounding her transformation from actress to duchess. Then the money arrived. Massive deals. Netflix, Spotify, global branding, celebrity status on a scale few royals had ever achieved independently. But even those projects allegedly became surrounded by controversy. Spotify's reported $18 million Archetypes deal quickly became a lightning rod after reports claimed Meghan allegedly did not personally conduct many interviews with experts and intellectual contributors featured on the podcast. Staff reportedly handled major portions behind the scenes while Meghan focused mainly on celebrity conversations. Critics accused the production of manufacturing intimacy that did not fully exist. Piers mocked the arrangement relentlessly, portraying it as another example of Meghan allegedly attaching her image to work heavily carried by others. Then, Spotify canceled future seasons, fueling even more public ridicule. Critics saw the cancellation not simply as a business decision, but as evidence the carefully built media empire was beginning to crack under pressure. But nothing damaged public trust more than the Oprah interview. That moment changed everything, because 17 million viewers watched Meghan and Harry present themselves as emotionally shattered victims trapped inside a cruel institution. The world reacted instantly with outrage, sympathy, and anger toward the royal family. Yet afterward, fact-checkers and critics reportedly began identifying inconsistencies one after another. The secret wedding before the official ceremony reportedly turned out not to be legally valid. Claims surrounding Archie's royal title allegedly conflicted with long-standing royal protocols predating Meghan entirely. The unnamed royal accused of questioning Archie's skin color was never publicly identified. And as those contradictions piled up, public opinion reportedly started splitting down the middle. Piers famously declared on live television that he did not believe Meghan's version of events, triggering massive backlash and eventually his departure from Good Morning Britain. But as time passed, many of the claims initially dismissed by critics reportedly became far more complicated than audiences first realized. And when you pull back and look at the entire picture together, that is where the story stops feeling like ordinary celebrity gossip and starts feeling like something much larger. An audition room lie in 2004, a vanished blog, a rewritten identity, a father erased, relationships disappearing quietly, speeches allegedly borrowed, PR operations disguised as emotional moments, contradictions during globally televised interviews, staff allegedly breaking down behind closed doors, and a royal institution reportedly realizing too late that the woman entering Buckingham Palace may have understood media manipulation better than the monarchy itself. Tom Bower reportedly found patterns buried inside records and timelines. Piers screamed those patterns publicly while millions mocked him. But the reason this story refuses to die is because every controversy somehow seems connected to the same core accusation that Meghan Markle allegedly reinvented herself repeatedly depending on what each moment demanded. And now the world is left staring at one terrifying possibility. What if the greatest performance Meghan Markle ever gave was not on television, but in real life itself?